All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal. I am one of your hosts, Rachel, and the other host
is Kaz in the middle of a blackout and ice storm, whatever. So for
Yeah.
our fans who are watching this, I apologize if I look disheveled and scraggled because I am. And I have no way of knowing.
She's working in the dark.
Yes, I come to you from a generator. We have to unplug everything else. I'm like, sorry, everyone. Back to darkness. Don't flush the toilets.
Oh
I
my
need to do a
God.
podcast.
Yeah, it's been one of those days in this part of Ontario. Actually, I think in most of Ontario. Well,
No, my parents live near London and they're like, oh, it was 10 degrees and sunny here. And I'm like, great. Good for you.
yeah,
But no.
yeah, I think it's like central and eastern Ontario got like dumped on with ice. So, but
Yeah. Fun times.
yeah, other than that, not much is going on.
No.
Yeah, and the dog just jumped up, so if everything just falls over, now you know who it is. The dog, not me, or the ghosts.
The poltergeist.
The dog. Just yeah, or the ice. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so today's episode, like we really don't have anything much to talk about. Nothing's been going on because it's March.
Yeah.
So today's episode is all about
Well, hold
Thomas
on. We're
House.
skipping the fact that you debuted in a CBC episode of ghosting.
Ghosting.
So that was pretty darn cool. That's the big time here in Canada.
Oh yeah.
BBC episode.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That was fun to film. I was expert. Not really an expert, but got a lot of knowledge, but
Yeah,
so I was
so.
the expert. So yeah, that was fun. And that was done at Kawartha Settlers Village. So
who else to be an expert of that place
other than Wendy?
You? Well, yes, other than Wendy, but in the paranormal realm, that would be you.
I guess.
Home away from home.
It is. It is. One day we'll be able to sleep over.
I think so.
Probably sooner than later.
That would be great.
In the
Good
right house.
stuff.
But yeah, so today's episode is all about the Thomas House in Oakville. Dun, dun, dun. So yeah, it is like the tiniest museum we've ever investigated.
Yes. We basically had to go in shifts because it was too small for all of us really to be in all at once.
It's one room.
No kidding. It's
2 rooms.
If you're watching this, which I encourage you to do, just because we're hilarious, the background that Rachel has is the house. And then the tiny little bed behind me is the one other portion of the house, which is literally like behind. Yeah, it's very tiny. Very, very tiny.
When you think about how many people were living in there at the time,
yeah,
literally all you were doing was sleeping in the house. That was it.
Yeah,
that was it. But yeah, so the Paranormal Seekers investigated the Thomas House in August of 2023. That's what I was gonna say 2022, but no, it was 2023.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we went down to Oakville and we investigated this little. Well, it was once a log cabin, if you want to say so. But yeah, so this little museum is located in Lakeside Park. It is literally like 200 feet from the water.
Yeah.
So it was moved there though. It wasn't there originally. They did move it. So the actual house was built in 1829, and it was the original farm home of the Thomas family. So that would be Merrick Thomas, his wife, and their children. They had 7 children altogether. And we'll talk about this here. I'll go through it shortly, but they had 7 altogether. 3 did pass away in infancy and childhood. So there was 2 adults and 4 boys. Tiny little house. And I live in a tiny house with 2 adults and 1 boy. And that is too small.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I was saying, this house was moved to where it is today in 1955, and it was originally found just west of what is called 16 Mile Creek on a site that is now occupied by a cemetery and a high school, a Catholic high school. Yeah.
Wait, the cemetery is next to the high school?
I guess, yeah. I wish
Pretty
that was,
cool.
I wish I went to a school like that.
Yeah, me too. I was just thinking that. I'm like, no. Wow.
So yeah. So okay, so I'm just gonna dig into some history here. We'll just talk about, because it was the Thomas house, so we'll talk about Merrick Thomas and where he kind of came from. So he actually has a really boring story for himself, but his family story is actually pretty, I thought it was pretty cool when I was looking this up, because I didn't look this up before. But all right, let's get into some history here. Okay, so we're going to start with his dad. So his dad's name was Seneca. So Seneca Thomas. So he was the son of Dr. Amos Williams. Don't know where he got the 10. Jay's laughing. I don't know. I don't know where they got Thomas from.
I don't know either.
And he was born in Massachusetts. So of course, originally he's American. So Seneca married a lady named Asenath.
What are these names? I'm trying to dig in them, but what?
Aseneth. She was also from Massachusetts. But anyways,
Massachusetts.
yeah. And the couple, they moved to North Vermont after they got married, and they had 4 children together. One of those being our Merrick.
Okay.
So it says at the outbreak of the War of 1812, Seneca was working on the fortifications on Queenston Heights for the British forces. Now, if anybody doesn't know what Queenston Heights is, look it up. It's very
love it. Like tough tips. Moving on.
Anyways, so it says despite his employment with the colonials, he swiftly defected from their side, enlisting in the American forces in New York State. So if you haven't figured this out already, he was working with the Canadians, so the British. But even though he was working for the British, he said, "Nah, I'm going to fight for the Americans." And he enlisted into the American forces in New York State. So during his service with these forces, he was wounded and taken prisoner on October 12th, 1812 at Queenston Heights. So soon after this event, however, he was hit with another tragedy when his wife died. So as he's a prisoner, his wife is now died. With his 4 children left without a mother, he was permitted to attend the funeral under guard. So the British were, watching him. At the funeral, Seneca staged an escape, and it was said he managed to escape either by the connivance of his captors or by his own shrewdness after giving Canada a wide berth. So he escaped from Canada.
Okay.
But yeah, so with his escape, his children were separated, and the 2 oldest boys, which was Merrick and his brother Charles, remained together until Charles moved back to Massachusetts at the age of 15. So that was how this all started. So Merrick was pretty much left here in Canada to find himself. Yeah. So Merrick Thomas, he is the eldest son of Seneca and Asenath. I'm saying this totally wrong, but so he was born in Vermont on May 26, 1803, and he was said to be the first white child delivered in that town.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
So at the time of his mother's death and his father's dramatic escape from the British imprisonment, he was no more than 10 years old. So he was, It is, so I have down here, it is said that one of his first memories was of driving an army cart with the British forces on their way to Burlington Heights. This is one of his earliest memories.
My goodness.
Yeah. So at that time, at the age of 10, 11, whatever this is, he was employed by a Mr. William Kent, living at the head of Lake Ontario in a settlement called Saltfleet, which is now a township that is part of Stony Creek. So this Mr. Kent Otis owned a substantial number of enterprises in the area, including a store, a salt works, and a sawmill, and he had multiple ships. So Merrick Thomas worked his way through many positions, and as a result, serving as a sawyer, a sailor, and a clerk, up until the position of general manager. Like working at McDonald's, you start at the bottom and you work your way up. Anyways, says after leaving Mr. Kent's employment, Merrick served as a general manager under William Chisholm, who was running a mercantile and lumber business in Nelson. Maybe not working today. Transporting
it is
lumber.
Full of ice.
Yeah, literally, it's frozen, everybody. So he was working with this William Chisholm, transporting lumber down the St. Lawrence to Quebec with ships, also following that route. So William Chisholm eventually elected to place Merrick Thomas in charge of a new settlement in Oakville. So this meant that Merrick would be clearing the forest, establishing buildings, improving the harbors, creating piers, constructing vessels, with claims being made that Oakville was the first settlement to build a steamboat on Lake Ontario.
Oh.
I didn't even know this about this dude.
No. Now, where do we know William Chisholm from?
He is, because I
Because I know the name, and I know he's connected somehow to something else we've done. We could circle back to that. That's okay.
Maybe, but he is, I think he ends up being, hold on, I got his information here. I have his information. Geez, I have a lot of his. So he actually is his brother-in-law. He marries, he marries his. So William Chisholm marries, I think it was Rebecca there. Is it Rebecca? Yeah, anyways, he marries William Chisholm marries Merrick Thomas's wife's sister. There we go.
Gotcha. Okay.
Anyways, is that throw it all together? Yeah. Merrick Thomas also served as a justice of the peace for the United Counties of Wentworth and Halton District of Gore. Held a commission as captain of artillery and was a government commissioner of lighthouses and harbors.
He's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, he was, apparently. So he married Esther Silverthorne, and she was born on October 30th, 1806, of Lundy's Lane, which is actually Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
And they married in 1827, and they had 7 children. Although, like I said, 3 of them did die in infancy and childhood. So firstborn was Charles William, and he was born on September 23rd, 1830. He lived until 1899. And next was Esther Thomas. She was born on November 8th, 1832, and sadly, she passed away 15 days later on November 23rd, 32. Now, Esther was a twin, and her sister was Asenath, and she, again, born on November 8th, 1832, but sadly, she only lived 11 days and died on November 21st, 1832. Next on that list was George Chisholm Thomas. He was born January 28th, 1834, and he died October 1st, 1898. We have a Rebecca Thomas, who was born February 28th, 1838, and died April 28th, 1840. She was like 2 years and a few months. We have John Alexander, who was born February 25th, 1841.
That's a great birthday.
Yeah, you have a great, at least one's born on your birthday. One of them died on mine. And he died November 20th, 1912. And last but not least, we have Robert Murray Thomas, who was born November 12th, 1846, and he died April 6th, 1931. And for those of you listening, today's date would be April 6th, 1931, and this was not planned.
No.
We did not plan to do this on this. Didn't even know. Anyways.
And is he the one that's Murray? Is that his name?
Yes. He's the one that would inherit the house once his father died. So when they lived in Oakville, they first lived in a house on Thomas Street. surprise, surprise, that was built in 1833, but was destroyed by fire in 1839, while it was occupied by William Chisholm. However, it says that their surviving house was built on what Trafalgar Township records show as a 200-acre farm leased from the King's College to Merrick Thomas in 1829. So this current house that we were in is believed to have been built in 1829, like I said, on the site of what is now the Catholic High School and a cemetery. So Merrick Thomas purchased the house in 1839. He expanded it in 1860. I don't know where he expanded it from. I'm kind of terrified to know how big it was back then. And closed in the veranda, which is not closed in anymore, obviously.
Right.
It is built in a Loyalist style. So a simple building with 2 rooms and a loft, which was accessible via an outside stairway.
Yep.
Yeah, you went up there.
We'll get to that in a second.
So it says the bulk of the present structure is original. Let's see here. Now it says, now his story, it's all not, he rose to the top of the ranks and, he was up there until the very end. In 1840, Merrick Thomas, along with William Chisholm and other merchants, were involved in the incorporation of the Oakville Hydraulic Company. However, as the 16-mile creek was too shallow to erect the proposed dam, in 1841, the banks foreclosed and lawsuits were brought against Chisholm, Thomas, and John Moore, who was a carpenter and a mariner. This put William Chisholm into debt, and he died 2 days after selling his lands to settle his debts. So that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is believed this is the reason the deed to the farm property, so the Thomas farm there, was placed in the names of Thomas's son George and Charles in 1840, who at the ages of 6 and 10 made very youthful property owners. And then it says, which may have been foresight relating to the foreclosure of the Oakville Hydraulic Company. So Thomas Merrick, or Merrick Thomas, oh my gosh, why did I call him Thomas Merrick? My brain is frozen.
Are you okay?
I'm okay over here. Just can't. I should probably put my glasses on. Merrick died on August 25th, 1856, and he left behind his 4 children, like living children, and his wife, who lived until June 9th, 1891 on their original homestead. So she did die on June 9th, 1891. So she lived in the house until her death. His youngest son, Robert, who was deaf and nonverbal from the age of 3 or 4, so from a toddler, lived in Oakville until 1931. So he kind of inherited the house. I don't think he actually lived in, he might, I don't know. I can't remember if they said he actually lived in the house. He must have.
I feel like they did. I know they referenced him.
Yeah.
But
I don't know,
yeah,
but
I don't know.
He was a teacher who taught other deaf and blind children how to pretty much succeed in life. So he has a good legacy. But all the other siblings just up and returned to the States. Most of them moved to Boston, and that's the end of that. There's a history of the Thomas house and the Thomas family.
Well,
after reading that, I'm still really interested in how they expanded this house, because
I think they just meant they put the veranda on, because what else? There's no expansion. It's
they stopped
kitchen.
using the attic as storage and made it into a room. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that comes into play later, but the attic was actually a big attic.
Yeah.
But it was a scary one.
That would suck in the winter. Go sleep
in
upstairs.
the summer. It was insanely hot.
Yeah, that's true. We did go in August, and it's there's no airflow. Yeah. Could you imagine? You want to go to bed, you got to go outside to go upstairs.
Well, you have to go outside to go to the washroom, so they were used to that stuff. True. I think.
Well, no, not really. That's why they had chamber pots.
Maybe they were hardened people. We're the prissy ones that are like, I gotta go.
Yeah, we need that luxury of being in the warmth. Speaking of which, Allison was over here today. She goes, "Can I use your bathroom?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." All I hear go from the inside the bathroom is, "Are your toilet seat, is it heated?" No, no. Jay's like, "I was just in there." I'm like, "Oh, you got a preheated seat."
Oh
Anyways,
my
come on.
god. That's insane.
I'm not that rich to have a heated toilet seat. Like, seriously.
Oh my lord.
Best ever. But anyways,
I can only imagine your face when you were like, no, Jay was just in there.
I gotta run and get my plug. My laptop is like, "I'm gonna die on you now." Oh my god.
Well, that's okay. I will get into the good stuff, which was when we started the investigation. So let me just prep you to the fact that when we got to this tiny little place, there was 6 of us on the team, and then there were at least 4 curators, I think, who had stayed that wanted to join and kind of hang out with us for the night, which is fine. We love that. So we get there, and there are a few little buildings in that area, and it's in like the park area down by the waterfront.
Mhm.
So people are everywhere, and we're thinking, how are we going to do this? So we go inside, and then we're like, oh, like literally, how are we going to do this? Because we can't have everyone in here. For one, there's no air conditioning. So
Mm-mm-mm.
it's going to heat up. So, because it was August, it's going to get very hot. And there's just nowhere to move. Like there was, when you walk in, it's the kitchen, there's a massive hearth, fireplace, a bench, a chair, and another, I think a little table and a chair. That was it. That was the entire room. There was nothing else for you to do. And then there was a room just off of there with a bed. And that's all that fit in there, which is behind me, as you can see in the picture. So we started off, we had the tour, which was just open the front door and say, here it is. And the people were lovely. And they kind of gave us a little information. And right off the bat, we had figures show up on the SLS camera. I think they were in the now infamous corner that we will get to very shortly. And they didn't last very long. And then honestly, it kind of went quiet for a really long time. So we got there around 6 p.m. and we did a little bit of investigation. We had a few things come up. So the name Merrick came up.
Mhm.
On the Tempest, which is very similar to an obelisk. We kept getting the phrase open door, which we'll figure out what that means not too long. And we kept saying, yes, there's an open door. Like, do you want us to go in the door? Where's the door? And then Merrick kept coming through. I asked, Merrick, is your wife here? And then the Tempest came up with the word we. The word bishop kept coming up, which I don't know that we've ever figured that out. But it came up a lot. It came up on the Tempest. It came up on the Ghost Box. It came up during the Estes method. So interesting that that came up. We asked how many spirits there were. And at first we were told there were 2 and they need help. And you asked who needs help, and it said the girls. Well, the 2 twin girls died, so that would maybe have made sense.
All of their girls died.
Yes, they did. But I'm just thinking the twins, like later on it refers to the 3 girls. What else came up? Oh, so then Murray kind of makes an appearance, and he speaks often, and then he's speaking both through the spirit box, but also at this point, we're kind of running out of things to do. We had the cat balls, spirit orbs. What are they called? I don't know what we're calling them anymore.
Ghost sensors, no.
The light up balls were going off.
Sensor balls.
Yes, there we go. The sensor balls were going off a few times in correlation to answer questions. And none of the other equipment was really going off. So we decided to do an Estes method. And Leanne was like, I'll do it. And we're like, great. So Picture this. Sicily, 1922. We're sitting just in front of the little hearth there. And it was Leanne, you, me. There was a curator lady at the time. And that was kind of all we could comfortably fit. And so we're having a really good conversation. Murray's now entered frame. We hear his voice on the spirit box, and as well, Leanne is also speaking back and forth. So I ask Murray, can you speak to Leanne? And the spirit box says yes. And I said, okay, well, you just have to talk to Leanne. And you clearly hear a voice come through the spirit box that said, it's just that simple. Like, it was so clear. And we were like, ah. And as we're laughing, Leanne says, yes. And then she says, I'm the father. And then she said, there are 3 stuck. So we're wondering if that's the 3 stuck girls. You asked about who might be upstairs in the attic. So upstairs, there is a creepy little side door that leads to really steep stairs going up into the attic. First of all, every known spider that lives in Oakville lived in and on the stairs and up into the attic. Like, it was horrific. I volunteered to go up and take pictures and honestly was like, tell my children I love them because I'm not coming back alive. It was the scariest, cobwebbiest place. It was a big attic space, but they were like, don't go in there. And I'm like, oh, because the spiders will eat me. Yes, I know that. And they're like, no, because we're not sure that the floor is very safe. But there were rumors that slaves escaping would basically hide out there on their way. It's like the Underground Railroad, I suppose, of Canada.
Yeah.
And it was rumored that slaves would be hiding out up there. So then you ask a question, who's upstairs in the attic in the secret room? And Leanne says, Esther, Emmett, and Leah. And then she says, Emmett again. And then you said, Emmett, are you from? And she finishes your sentence and says, India, which is a strange thing to say. But anyways. And then Leanne says, may I speak or may it speak? And then there is the craziest dream or like cat sound that we all react to because we hear it, but we don't know what it was. It was like, like that's how it sounds. And we're all like, what the fuck? And we don't know where it comes from, but it sounds, you can hear it on my recording. I have no idea what that is, but it's weird that Leanne's like, let it speak or hear it speak, and then it's like some weird fucking crazy sound. So Emmett, we keep getting come through, which you reference, like it sounds like an old name, right? Like, and then Leanne starts saying like, follow me. And we're like, where? Where do you want us to follow? And she's like, I'm here. And we're like, where? Upstairs? And she's like, yes. And she's like, you need to look up. Open it. Can you please open it? And we're like, what? And then she references opening a door. And you're like, oh my God, can you please open the front door? So we're all focused on the front door. So then one of our other team members comes in and Leanne, who's doing the Estes, she's like, oh, hello, have a seat. And we all start laughing. And then Allison comes in and Leanne says, oh, you're back. Now, bear in mind, Leanne has blindfolds on. It's actually dark now because it's 10:30 at night. And she has the headphones. So she has no idea people are coming and going. And then the lights start flashing. And you say, can you make those flash again? And Leanne's like, no. And we laugh again. And then she says, oh, he's here. Or or she's here, or he's here, someone. And we're like, who's here? And she's like, Felicia, my wife. And then she's like, look at the door. And then we say, can you open it? And then Leanne says, can you see me? And we all go, no, where are you? And then Allison says, are you in the bedroom? And so Leanne says, yep, that's where I am. So I decide to stand up and I go stand in the doorway of the bedroom. So I'm looking into the bedroom and my back is to everyone where that hearth place is behind Rachel there in the background. And bear in mind, it is very dark.
Mhm.
Now, to my right in the corner is a corner hutch. So that's just like a corner cabinet. It's been there the whole night. It has little artifact things in it. The
Mhm.
bottom part is a cupboard that has like a latch on it, and the top part is a glass. I think there was like cutlery or some sort of
Photos and stuff.
antique
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
They have a
So,
ghost. I
anyways,
think they have a ghost photo in there,
okay.
or some
So,
photo with some orbs. Yeah.
so we are now like, where are you? Do whatever. And I'm staring into the abyss of darkness because there are no lights in this place. And all of a sudden, I hear Rachel go, oh my God. And I'm like, what? And as I turn around, the bottom door of this hutch has opened itself at me. And I scream like a girl and like teleport myself across the room, basically onto Allison's lap, because you have to remember it's dark. And all of a sudden, this thing is coming out my legs.
Yeah.
So we're all losing our minds, but then we're like, okay, wait. It could have been that I had moved on a floorboard and moved this thing, but we had moved around this space. Bear in mind, it's a tiny, tiny room.
Yeah.
We had walked past this thing multiple times. One of our, she's no longer in the team, but one of the people that were on the team, she used to take pictures and she was like literally rolling around, getting different angles. We were laughing at one point because she was laying in front of this thing and, she's getting up and down and doing whatever.
Mhm.
So we decided to try and debunk this. I close it. And as I close, I go, this is like one of those, um, when there's two doors and one overlaps the other one to close it.
Yeah.
So the door that would have been behind that was the one that opened. And there was a little latch that had been on it. So when I closed the doors, I'm like, this is weird. Like the one that was behind the one that latched it is the one that's out. I closed it, latched it, and the latch was like, "Ugh," like you have to push the latch. So then I'm like doing this little funky jig or whatever. And at this point, we have now created a bit of a buzz. So some of the curators who were outside at the time came in. They're like, what's going on? And we explained it. And the woman's like, it's impossible. That doesn't open. Like, we don't open that corner cabinet. It doesn't open. What do you mean? And as we're explaining what happened, the top glass door opened, and this woman just about shit her pants. She'd been working there for years, and she was like, "What? No, this can't happen. What?" And of course, the first one we had the video recorder
Yeah.
going.
We were doing
Um,
live.
oh yes, we were,
We
but
were
unfortunately,
live.
because it's dark, it's really hard to see what happens.
Mhm.
Even when we like upped the exposure, it's still really hard to see what happens. And
They could
then,
just hear us.
yeah, well, you were like, and then I lose my mind. So when that had all happened, you said, "Oh my God, I've got to see if I've captured this." So you had to stop recording.
Mhm.
And of course, then the second major thing happens where the top door opens. But at
Usually,
least we had more witnesses to that one. It was phenomenal.
and that's
And we
usually
were all
how it goes.
speechless.
That's usually how it
Yeah.
goes. The best like experiences happen when you're not filming.
Yeah.
Always. That goes for like
Yes.
everything. Like Wildwood, for example. We're setting
Mm-hmm.
everything up. We're not even recording and we're hearing all of this stuff and we don't have anything to say we heard it.
I know. Well, and I
Nice.
walk up the stairs and go around the corner and see that man standing
Mhm.
there and hear the crazy hiss and I wasn't even thinking to record when we were doing
Mhm.
that. So the good thing about that though is that it did make us realize we need sort of night vision-y stuff so that we can
Better night
capture these
vision
things,
stuff. Yeah.
and to try and set up more recording devices. But sometimes it's just not enough. And sometimes, like, we were recording, but you had to stop to double check, and then more things happen.
Mhm.
So the paranormal is not like, you just can't be like, okay, it's happening now. Like, it just happens. And then as soon as all that happened, it went dead.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Leanne is still sitting there doing Estes while
She
we're all
still
losing our
has
mind.
no
She has
idea.
no idea. And she's just saying things, and she's sort of talk, because she's still this person that had come through. Um, I don't know if it was Murray or Emmett at that point, but
Mhm.
whoever it was that kept talking about the freaking door, they were still talking away. So we're losing our mind, doors are opening, people are going crazy, and she's just still sitting there like, "Bah, bah, 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 bah."
She got no fucking idea.
No, none at all. And so pretty
Oh,
much after that, we it just went quiet, which is
yeah.
very common in the paranormal world. Stuff ramps up and then it just goes whoop.
Yep.
And sometimes it will ramp up again, but most times
Mhm.
they've gone a night, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, and that is a good testament to anyone who is looking to get into this field. Um, you could be at a place for hours. I think we just talked about this in the last episode.
Yeah.
Hours and hours and hours with nothing. And then that one juicy piece comes
Yeah.
along. And that was truly, truly, I mean, for the fact that we'd been walking past that thing,
Yeah.
someone had been literally rolling around in front of it. I was doing a weird little jig, like a funny little dance. And then to have both the spirit box and on Estes say about a door opening, and then the door opens, and then the
Mhm.
people that have worked there for years who are like, no, this thing does not open. What do you mean it opened? And then it opened. That was the best. Her face when that happened, she was just like, no,
I still
no.
remember looking and like I was filming, and I still remember looking down because I seen something move and it seen this door open. I remember going,
Yeah.
"Oh my god! Oh my god!"
Yeah. Oh, I remember. And then I thought it was an arm coming at me because it was so dark. I just suddenly see this thing coming at my legs. I thought it was an arm. That's why I jumped for Allison to save me.
Oh my
Oh,
god!
it was great. And the best part is you can go visit that place.
Yeah.
Go have your own little experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just, you can spend the whole day at the park. You can, have a picnic,
Yeah,
go,
it's beautiful.
a little history lesson, maybe see some ghosts. I don't know. Get hit with a cabinet door. I don't know. Eaten by a
I
spider.
wonder, I wonder if they talk about it
I'm sure they
at
do.
that place.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, you would have
Maybe
to.
back. Maybe we should go back.
We should. That, like, honestly, the woman, like, she was afterwards, just kept talking about it. And she's like, I don't understand. I've been here for so long. It doesn't open. Even when we were
Right.
like packing up and getting to the car, she was telling someone else. Oh, it was great. But it was uneventful, and all of a sudden
Mhm.
extremely active all at once.
Yeah. As soon as it got dark.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah. Yeah,
But it was a great little place.
it is. It is. And it's places like that surprise you in the end, right?
Hmm.
Like, you walk in and you're like, oh, I don't know how this is gonna go
This
because
is
it's
going to be quick.
one room, but you know, they
It
surprise
was
you.
fun.
They
Yeah.
surprise you. Like I said, I think it's the smallest building we've investigated since ever, really, when I think about it.
Yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
where else. Yeah.
Well, we might have a small one coming up again in October. I think it's a one room too, I think.
Oh, lovely.
I'll figure it out.
Well, who knows? Could be another good one. Now we have night
I'll have to
vision and
email them and
lights.
ask them how many cabinets do you have with doors because they might open.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
Oh,
But
no, it
yeah,
was a great
yeah.
little ditty. And we do have the video.
Mhm.
It's just, I mean, it's hard to see. You
You
can
can
hear
watch,
us
you can hear it.
reacting. Yes. you can see me. It's very hard to see the door
Mhm.
open. I mean, it is there if you know what you're looking for, but
You'll hear it because you hear me at first go.
oh yeah. Well, you were like, oh my god, and I'm like, what? Like, I don't even know how I do this operatic thing that I do.
It's amazing.
And
It's
then I just
amazing.
go "Bam," out of frame. I pulled a
Right into the bedroom.
Ryan. Yeah, I
I didn't
like,
realize. Oh my god, I'm in the bedroom. And right back out you come.
yeah. Oh
Because we
my
should
gosh.
mention there is well everything I think in the building is not original to the building.
So the
It
bed was,
was it. I don't.
yeah, the bed
I
was
do know that they
original.
found the boots
Yeah, and
and a
his
gun
gun.
in
Hmm.
like in the building. So
Yeah.
they're pretty sure
So
that that's original to the Thomas family, especially to Merrick. So that's what's pretty interesting. Other than that, I think a lot of the stuff has been brought in.
I did ask, he made reference of his boot. Where was that? I remember asking him.
Mhm.
I said, "Are those your boots in the bedroom?" And he said, "Yep, they're mine." I don't know. I wrote it down somewhere, but yeah, because I know I was like, "Oh, I don't like these boots," and
Mhm.
then someone else had mentioned it, and then someone that we had with us, she was picking up on him, on Merrick, and was talking about his
Mhm.
boots. And then that's how they said, oh, those boots were original and the gun as well.
Mhm.
So that's pretty neat. And they look like the type of boots if you heard someone coming down the hallway in them, you would shit your pants. Like it was like a stomp. Like they were not nice boots.
You know those stomping noises that you hear at old houses that the footsteps like wearing the
Yeah.
boots. Those are the boots.
Uh-huh.
Those are the shit your pants and run boots.
Yeah.
You better be behaving boots.
Mm-hmm.
Those ones were
Because the
made for
gun's
walking.
coming out if not.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so we highly suggest everybody go and visit the Thomas house.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
It is.
town and it's a beautiful little area and it's just a cool place to
Mhm.
go visit. And there are other little buildings there. We just only had
Yeah, they
permission to
had
go in
I
that
think
one.
it's just the post office, like an old post officey building.
Yeah.
It was a post office.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyways.
Anyway,
Anyways, well, I gotta wrap this up because I'm using all of the
I was gonna say
power and
you can just
everyone's like hovering to be like, I need to charge my phone.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that's our episode on the Thomas House in Oakville,
Mm-hmm.
the Thomas House Museum. So yeah, so if you have any questions about it or anything else, you can email us at paranormalpodcast@gmail.com. That's PAREHNORMAL podcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, we's all over the place. We just post everywhere. But yeah, and next week episode's another good one because we're going to show you what we find at places instead of just talk about it.
Yay.
So yeah,
Whoop,
so
whoop.
we will be doing that next week. So there's some
Sweet.
pretty interesting stuff on that. And then yeah, so next week,
On the
we'll
death
be,
day of Murray, may he
yeah,
rest in
we'll
peace.
be yeah, where this will be released, and we will be
Mm-hmm.
recording. And then after that, we get really busy.
Yes, we do. But excitingly enough, we'll
Oh,
have a live coming up from a really cool place.
two really cool places.
Yes, I was actually going to say probably two really cool places.
Oh yeah, it'll be two. It's already pre-posted that it will be.
Okay, good. Sweet. All right.
Yeah, wait. Anyways, all right, everybody. Have a great night.
Yeah.
Dig yourselves out. I mean, unthaw yourselves. Fuck Elsa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
The cold fucking bothers me, period.
Well, yeah, I have nothing to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was fine up until she took my internet. Now we got problems.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anyways, yeah, don't worry. It's going to be 20 degrees on Thursday.
Yay.
Don't know why. Mother Nature is a real treat right now. But anyways, okay, stop sucking the power and we'll see you later.
All right. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.